All right, stop what you're doing and go down in the comments right now. I want to hear your thoughts on what you think NASCAR's championship format should be, because there's a lot of opinions out there, and in this video I'm going to give you mine, as well as talk about a litany of auto racing news that has either broken this very day or throughout the past couple of weeks. Let's get into it. So if you haven't already, be sure to go down there while you're writing your Chase comment and subscribe. I think this is a pretty good spot for motorsports on the internet. So if you're not already subscribed, it's a great way to let YouTube know you want to see more of my content. All right, so the big news that broke today is related to IndyCar. And it's about their new formula, or maybe it's not really a new formula, because IndyCar has delayed their 2.4-liter engine formula indefinitely and will continue to utilize the current 2.2-liter engines for the foreseeable future. Though the change coming in 2024 is that the spec hybrid unit that was originally supposed to come with the 2.4-liter engines will now be paired with the current 2.2-liter engines. This is, on the surface, it's not a bad thing, and I think it's good for the teams, and it's good for car counts, because I've been saying this for months and months and months, that ultimately the manufacturers were only going to be able to supply 12 cars each. So IndyCar was going to essentially be, if the 2.4-liter engines came into effect, it was going to be a 24-car series. There is now on record confirmation that the manufacturers have said that's what it was going to be. So I have a lot of thoughts about this, and I'm going to talk about it tomorrow, because I want to cool down a little bit, because I think it's very easy to get into a situation where you're thinking about these things and you're looking at all the scenarios, and if you react too quickly, you miss some of the key details. So I'm going to have a think on this, and I guess we'll reconvene tomorrow, and I'll have more thoughts, because right now there are a lot of thoughts in my head, and I want to get them into a coherent video for you guys before I say them. But it's not just IndyCar that may be having a little bit of trouble behind the scenes. There's been a lot of talk about a NASCAR split recently, and there hasn't been much made of it. Everybody knows about the RTA, the Race Team Alliance, but I think they've kind of fired the first shot. And this was a couple of weeks ago, Adam Stern reporting this, that the Race Team Alliance is looking at the possibility of holding their own exhibition races. The biggest teams are exploring organizing their own events in the off-season. And here's a thought that I have. I think this is a bargaining chip, first of all, because we know the teams and the drivers not happy right now with NASCAR. A lot of things, again, behind the scenes, that it seems like everyone's unhappy with the current situation in NASCAR, except for perhaps NASCAR themselves. And it's one of those things that when you look, especially when we're talking like historically in racing, when you have this kind of unrest, it goes one of two ways. Either everybody sings Kumbaya, they get together, they fix the problems, or perhaps a dictator comes in like Formula One a couple of times, where you have a Bernie Ecclestone that just reigns over the teams with an iron fist, but ultimately makes everybody a lot of money so no one complains about it. Or you have what happened with IndyCar, and you have the inmates try to run their own asylum for a little while, and it destroys everything. And this would seem to be the first step in seeing if the Race Team Alliance could put on their own events and make them successful. One would think, actually no, Bob Pockrass confirmed this, is that they have to not use the next-gen car, because the next-gen car is NASCAR's intellectual property. So they would have to use something else. They'd probably use like a late model, or potentially go back to the current, or the former Gen 6 cars, which are, or were, designed by the teams, and presumably the intellectual property of the teams that designed them and the manufacturers that designed them, rather than NASCAR themselves. So I think this is potentially a story that a lot of people are going to overlook, but I would say if the Race Team Alliance starts hosting their own races, watch out. So let's talk a little bit about the playoffs in NASCAR, because I saw Denny Hamlin make some noise about this a couple of weeks ago, and I think he brought it up again when he was being interviewed during the media day for the award ceremony for NASCAR. And essentially it's like, okay, maybe 10 races and a cutoff format isn't the right way to do it. And I would tend to agree with him. I think full season points naturally are the best solution, the most natural solution, the correct solution. But I don't think you can ever unring the bell that is the playoffs. I don't think you can ever unring the bell that is now NASCAR fans' expectations for what a championship decider should be. So what do you do? Well, here's my suggestion. I think you can keep a playoff format and make it a little bit more special, because I think one of the big problems right now with playoffs in NASCAR is that it goes on way too long. If you look at the Truck Series, their playoffs start in effing July. NASCAR themselves, theirs start in September. And when your season ends at the end of November, having 3 months of playoffs, that's way too much. Way too much. My solution, my suggestion, would be to cut the playoffs to 3 races. That's it. 3 races to end the season. You would take full season points up until that point. So I think NASCAR, is 36 races or something like that? 32 or 36? I can't remember how long the NASCAR season is. But let's just say, for the sake of easy math, the NASCAR calendar is 36 races. So you run 33 races, full season points, you get to the final 3, and what happens? You make NASCAR, you cut NASCAR down to 3 races and 4 drivers. You take the top 4 in points. Doesn't matter if, let's say, Chase Elliott has a 2,000 point lead. Doesn't matter. You zero all their points, and you run a short track, an intermediate track, and a road course, and the best average finish of those 3 drivers is your champion. I think that's the fairest way to do it. There's no elimination. Obviously, you could be mathematically eliminated if you goose egg the first 2 races, but that's unlikely to happen. But I think the NASCAR champion needs to be determined more than just at Phoenix. And I think you also need to eliminate the possibility of your defending champion getting knocked out because of stupid circumstances. Or you need to kind of cover off the possibility that a driver who's really a dominant force in your series could get knocked out because someone decides to wall ride. I think long-term for the sport, and you can say what you want about the Hail Melon, but it didn't really do much in terms of the TV rating now, did it? And, I think long-term you need to make sure that the champion is considered legitimate. And if the champion isn't considered legitimate, then you've got a problem. I don't think you totally have to eliminate the playoff format as much as the purist in me wants to do that, but I think you can make it pure. I think you can make it. I think you can. You don't have to oversaturate the market with playoff races. That's why I suggest 3. If you have 3, I think that's a nice even number. I think it's just enough for the current generation of phone lookers to stay invested. I think it's an easy ask to say, hey, the month of November, we have 3 weeks to determine a champion. We've got a road course, we've got an intermediate, we've got a short track. And you can finish that in whatever way you want, whatever order you want. You can rotate the tracks, whatever, but as long as it stays to that format, that formula, and have full season points to determine the final 4, I feel like that's the perfect solution. That's my opinion. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below. And Kyle Busch, yeah, you clicked on this video for Kyle Busch, and I've made you wait 9 minutes to talk about him. But yes, it appears that there's going to be an announcement. Save the date, the 8th of December, D8. Kyle Busch, it appears, is going to announce what his car looks like, and potentially, well, you would naturally think that would include sponsors. And of course, they're going to sell merch, because why wouldn't you? It's the Christmas season after all. We already know Lenovo is coming back. That was confirmed by Adam Stern a little while ago. We also know that Menards was interested in sponsoring an Indy 500 effort for Kyle Busch, and I'll be very curious to see if Menards and RCR has a bit of a reunion. They haven't been on that car since Paul Menard left the team. But yeah, it's funny, isn't it? And I think it's going to be even more funny here in a couple of days when we actually get the confirmation of which sponsors have signed up with Kyle Busch, because all we were told by Joe Gibbs Racing is that we can't find sponsors for Kyle Busch. We can't bring him back because we can't find any sponsors. And if RCR rolls out a whole boatload of sponsors, what is that going to say about what Gibbs was doing with Kyle Busch and really where that team may be headed in the future? We've, of course, talked about that quite a bit, and you should go back in the archives of my channel and check out some of those videos where I've talked about that more in depth. So, yeah, this is this video. I've got to talk about IndyCar tomorrow and whatever the hell they're doing there. And I'm sure there's a lot more things that are going to break. Of course, also on the 8th, we got that Kyle Busch stuff, so I guess we'll talk about that too. Next 2 videos already sorted. How about that? Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.